Occupy movement that flared up in the U.S. 3 months ago has spread across the globe. In the British capital, protesters are growing in numbers while claiming commitment to nonviolence. But the authorities may not make the same commitment, as Ira Bennett now reports.
Tents, dreadlocks, even didgeridoos. But are the Occupy London protesters really terrorists? The city's police force seems to think so. It sent a letter to banks and businesses in the financial district warning of the terror threat posed by Occupy activists. It puts them in the same bracket as Al-Qaeda.
Well, I'd say to anybody who believes it to come here and have a look for themselves and see that we're a totally peaceful protest. It's preposterous to say that.
The backlash of criticisms forced the police to admit its wording was too strong, but it stands by its warning to big businesses to remain vigilant, issuing this statement.
We've seen crime linked to protests in recent weeks, notably around groups entering office buildings, and with that in mind, we continue to brief key trusted partners on activity linked to protests.
This is the building in question, Occupy's so-called Bank of Ideas. Activists moved in here nearly 3 weeks ago. It had been empty for months. The apparent terrorists now use it for meetings and lectures on how to solve the current crisis. They can even count celebrity backers and politicians amongst their guests.
I think a huge number of people want to see a different kind of economic system. That's what people here stand for, and I wanted to come and lend solidarity to that.
The UK's complicated laws on squatting mean the owners still haven't been able to evict their new uninvited tenants. Since the building wasn't in use, the activists don't see why they should leave.
And I'm wondering whether the senator is familiar with the fact that the language which precluded the application of Section 1031 to American citizens was in the bill that we originally approved in the Armed Services Committee, and the administration asked us to remove the language which says that U.S. citizens and lawful residents would not be subject to this section. Is the senator familiar with the fact that it was the administration that asked us to remove the very language which we had in the bill which passed the committee, and that we removed it at the request of the administration that would have said that this determination would not apply to U.S. citizens and lawful residents? I'm just wondering, is the senator familiar with the fact that it was the administration which asked us to remove the very language?
You prepared for a natural disaster? I don't know if you've been thinking about this lately, but we have certainly had our share right here in Middle Tennessee.
Today, emergency and health officials want to make sure that you are ready, so you may be getting a knock at your door. News Channel 5's Janet Kim is live for us at the Lens Public Health Center with more on this assessment that's going to be taking place, I guess, at random locations all over the city, Janet?
That's right, 30 different randomly selected neighborhoods. So if you do get that knock on the door from a local or state health official, don't be surprised. It's part of this county-wide survey that starts today. Now, as you know, Middle Tennessee has been no stranger to natural disaster, from a devastating flood to several strings of severe storms and tornadoes that ripped through the state in just the last year and a half. So the Metro Public Health Department and the State Health Department want to make sure that residents are ready if disaster strikes. Again, by going from house to house. Now, here's some questions they will be asking, like, what is your primary way of getting information during a disaster or emergency, or what special assistant might you need from emergency responders during an emergency? Now, I also asked you to comment on my Facebook page what you've been doing to prepare already. Here are some responses that we've gotten. Jessica Miller says she's, quote, stocked up on canned goods and lots of water. Miles Elder says we have about 30 days worth of non-perishable food in the house and 2 fully stocked disaster packs with helpful items. And our very own photographer, Angelica Dones, she commented with, quote, at my home we have several flashlights, a first aid kit, a battery-operated lantern with plenty of batteries. So it seems like a lot of reviewers are prepared in case a disaster strikes, but the county still wants to know exactly what you're doing to start thinking ahead. Now, you'll be able to spot these people conducting the surveys are going to be wearing shirts that say Casper on them, so hard to miss. For now, we are live here at the Metro Health Department. Janet Kim, News Channel 5.
Know good and well that someday there could be a government in power that is shipping its citizens off for disagreements. There are laws on the books now that characterize who might be a terrorist. Someone missing fingers on their hands is a suspect, according to the Department of Justice. Someone who has guns, someone who has ammunition that is weatherproofed, someone who has more than 7 days of food in their house, weatherproofed, someone who has more than 7 days of food in their house, ammunition that is weatherproofed, someone who has more than 7 days of food in their house can be considered a potential terrorist.
After it became clear that the Brossart family was responsible for the disappearance of 6 cows from a neighboring farm in North Dakota, local police marched up to their 3,000-acre property to ask some questions. However, they were immediately chased off by 3 men brandishing rifles. So, wishing to avoid some sort of blood-soaked Ruby Ridge-style fracas with the family, who is known to be involved in the anti-government sovereign citizen movement, they called in the Predator drones. Yes, the very same military recon weapons recently used to blow up chunks of Pakistan were deployed to surveil and help capture a scrappy gang of cattle rustlers. As unsettling as this sounds, the unarmed drones did facilitate a series of peaceful arrests, and nary a cow was harmed.
Hello everyone, welcome to Global Government News. Today's Monday, December 12th, 2011. My website is ggnonline.com. That's ggnonline.com. Also, if you like, on YouTube, it's ddarko2012. Donations are appreciated. And yeah, so we just saw this video, right? This door-to-door going for door-to-door in Tennessee to see how people are prepared. And one of those poor sheeple said, "Well, oh yeah, I got plenty of food. 30 days of food. 30 days of food means you are a terrorist, possibly." That's what they're going around for. And I'm thinking about it. It's all coming together now. This whole Occupy movement. I was wondering. I knew it was co-opted, but I was wondering, what is it for? Well, they're going to use the hoople heads, the sheeple, who are out there banging their pots and pans. They're going to get them all stirred up. Now they're doing it in Russia with the elections, and then they're going to sweep in with all these laws that have been waiting in the book, waiting in the wings, right? And the FEMA camps and all that, national emergency centers, torturing, detaining American citizens. Now all of a sudden, at the last minute, boom, they slip it in there. And so while all the hoople heads are out there banging their pots and pans, you're going to have these individuals like that person in the last video said, the sovereign movement, which I don't want to be considered part of a movement, but I am part of that sovereign ideology. And you know, these little minority of people are going to be swept in while everybody else in the Occupy movement is getting swept. They're going to get released. They're going to get processed, and they're going to get released, and they're going to be considered the Greens, the ones that are not really a big harm. It's the ones that own guns. It's the ones that want to have abolish the Federal Reserve System. It's the one that want to go back to a gold standard. It's those type people that they're going to snatch out while all the sheep are going and getting pressed forward. I just wanted to throw that out there. And that was, of course, what in this thing. That was a drone. So it says here, they called it a UFO, right? And it says it's clearly a quadricopter drone similar to the one pictured below. They can be controlled via touchscreen interface, and the video can be transmitted in real time via wireless modem or Wi-Fi, iPhone, iPad connected to a network, laptop, or similar. So it says they have automatic tracking, and some can even electrify and incapacitate protesters. I've covered that a long time ago. It was originally from, I got the idea from InfoWars, and this is who's carrying this article right now, or suspects or insurgents, whatever you want to call the people expressing their rights. Now, what? In the U.S., along with the UK, again, unilaterally, this is how you know this has all been pre-planned for the sheeple, is what? They are all now being declared terrorists. So just be careful. It says Ron Paul, the Patriot Act was written many, many years before 9/11, and an opportunity for some people to do what they wanted. But it's interesting because Joe Biden is actually the man behind the curtain as far as the Patriot Act, which was, again, waiting in the wing, and they tried to pass it for the Oklahoma City false flag, and they didn't get it. So then 9/11 came, and then they got it. The bombing took place in April 95, and his bill had been introduced in February 95. But if that's true, Biden's proposal probably helped to lay the groundwork for the Bush administration's Patriot Act. So remember I was saying drones. The picture, drones flying and bombing patriots or anarchists or individuals who don't want to be fucked with, bombing them in their backyard while they're barbecuing. That is, I said this 2 years ago, and now it's coming to fruition. Drones officially take flight for domestic law enforcement, heralding a new level of police state. Well, let's remember, we have this. U.S. proposes unmanned border crossing with Mexico. An unmanned border crossing. Well, who's going to man it? Well, new drones to scour U.S. coast for smugglers. I covered this in 2009. That's where I found it. Okay, so we have News Channel 5 confirms door-to-door questioning of food supplies in Tennessee while canneries downplay initial report. And another scary thing that's been happening, it's more of a trend. U.S. Congress to screen farm again is raiding farms and organic farms and anything organic, including the selling of raw milk. Said it's hard to imagine our government using SWAT raids to deal with misdemeanors, particularly in cases where there's no proof of harm. It's talking about raw milk, i.e. if people consent to it and they're not getting sick. Recently enacted laws and provisions such as the Food Safety Modernization Act in the last few years have favored industrial food complexes and have made it much harder and tedious for small farmers to operate under the new provision. So this was a little psyop that went off in New England. Verizon says civil emergency alert in New Jersey was only a test. Company apologizes for the inconvenience when people freaked out. I reported on this, what, week ago, 2 weeks ago? Sprint enables emergency SMS emergency text alert system scores U.S. carriers first. So children of the Occupy Wall Street movement post paper hearts on a fence, and then the cops proceeded to rip them down. There's a video. You can go check it out if you'd like. All the links will be posted in YouTube's video description. Then a family of child pepper sprayed settles with a city. A 7-year-old boy who's pepper sprayed by police had settled a federal lawsuit. That's right. Then deaf blind girl signs off sick from school after it bans her guide dog from dining hall because another pupil has an allergy. So that the people can't just move the fuck across away from this dog and this individual. No, it's all about me, 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 me. You know, women can't even see, can't even hear, and yet, you know, sorry, you know. It says here, bosses fingerprinting. And that's not the first case I've seen that. There was another woman that had a problem with her dog, too, with another slave that was complaining about it, maybe on the bus or something. I think she was kicked off the bus or something crazy like that. Anyways, bosses fingerprinting scan all staff at Qantas. And it says here, companies using fingerprint scans to monitor workers. And also, it's going to monitor workers' hours and lunch breaks, with some businesses using the technology to dock employees' pay if they are. So, as we saw in the first video, people are working longer hours, less vacation time. They're getting paid less. The retirement age is going up. They're paying, what, more taxes. You know, if you add inflation to your dollar, you're just paying more for everything. You have less disposable income. And, you know, this is what the New World Order is all about, the new economic order. It's about tracking the slaves, tracking the, quote, human resources. That's the slaves. That's you. Police to test laser that blinds rioters. Shoulder-mounted laser that emits a blinding wall of light capable of repelling rioters is to be trialed by police under preparations to prevent a repeat of this summer's looting and arson, which they know will come. as they finish off their plans here. Texas blood test aims at drunk drivers. Those who waive the basically the breathalyzer test has been dubbed no refusal by law enforcement officials because it prevents drivers from refusing to provide evidence of intoxication. So even if I'm not drunk and I get pulled over and they do this to me in Illinois, I'm going to refuse with physical force. I will not submit to that taking of my blood. Florida County throw parents of truant kids in jail, and that's funny because they have a truancy task force.